Hello, everyone. It's Linda Hayes coming to you from beautiful Ambergris Key, Belize. Came back into town for the 20th annual Real Estate Guys Investor Summit, and I wanted to give an overview of what Mahogany Bay Village is like because a lot of people have had questions. So if you've seen some of my past videos, you'll know I have some tiny homes in Mahogany Bay Village. And one of the reasons people like to come to the village is because it's one of the only gated communities on the island of Ambergris Key. And there's a ton of great amenities in the neighborhood. So some of those include the Hilton Curio Collection. You can see the pool outside the Great House, which is where you check into the hotel, and that's where the restaurant is as well. And there's a restaurant that I love called Giotto. It's a Japanese place where we go for sushi. There's a rum and bean coffee shop. There's Dirty Martini. There's a taco shack along with a lot of other food shacks. Level Up Arcade is a really cool new addition to the neighborhood. I go there quite a bit to show people because there's arcades, there's a golf simulator, a poker table, basketball, and even board games. And I've seen lots of local Belizeans bring their kids into there at the lower level where it is family friendly. And then upstairs where the bar is adult only after 6 p.m. And another addition to the community fairly recently is Island Academy, which is a private school, and there is an upcoming community pool in the neighborhood. So there's really two parts to the community, which is what a lot of people don't understand. And it's important to know this because if you're staying at the Hilton Hotel and you want to go eat at the restaurant that's right by the check-in desk, you can charge that to your room, and it's priced in US dollars. There are also a lot of private businesses in the community, however, and those cannot be charged to the room. So I kind of want to go through the differences in how you would be paying for things, where you could stay, what the amenities are depending where you're staying, and those kind of things. So now let's talk about what the community is like because it is a really large area. So when you first come through the gate, you could actually turn right onto Street 1, which is where the community pool is going to be. That's also where the barcade is, and then lots of private residences. And then the resort, you're going to go through another security gate to get to the Hilton Hotel, and that is on Street 2, Street 3, and also part of Street 4. So Street 4 is a hybrid. You'll see Hilton units first, and then past that, that's actually where my tiny homes are in the community and lots of a mix of different Hilton units and private residences. And so this confuses people, like what's part of the Hilton, what's not. And it's really just what happened is that Dave Mitchell's the overall developer for the entire community. You can see a lot of great videos on YouTube from his son, Will Mitchell. And then the way Street 4 works is that if the Hilton had a lot that they wanted to build on, they built that. But then if someone else wanted to buy a different lot, there was a private residence built there. So that's why it's kind of a hybrid street. And the Hilton actually was one of the first parts of the community that was built up. So that's where you see the Great House. That's where we had the Investor Summit because it is a large conference center there and it has a pool. And then there's also a dock where you could take a boat to the private beach club, which also has a bar. So it's one of the nicest beaches on the island. I took some of my local friends there when I was staying at the hotel, and he said it's actually his favorite beach on the island. So let's talk about private residences first. So if you're looking for something custom, for example, my tiny homes, they will, once they're able to be rented on a short-term basis, probably be more affordable than some other options for larger properties. And then my friend Patrick's house, I put some pictures of that here as well. He's got 2 bedrooms that are both master size, also a loft, and 2.5 bathrooms. So pretty unique type of property that you could stay in or buy if you were looking for something that way. Now, in terms of staying in these units, you could often find the private residences on Airbnb, or you can find long-term rentals. So I put my tiny homes as an option for long-term rental because I'm still waiting to get my hotel license because it takes months and months to do that. So I did start the process last year, but long-term tenants was the best way to go in the meantime. And while I'm doing that, that's why I stayed at the Hilton for the Investor Summit. Otherwise, obviously, I would have just stayed at my own units. So what are the benefits of staying in the resort? Basically, you could use and earn Hilton Honor Points, which is great. And the resort is really different from many other types of hotels, including Hilton's, in that it has individualized units. So instead of a hotel room in a building, there's an individual garden cottage, so you have no attached neighbors. There's also townhouse type products. Then there's suites that I like to stay in, which are called keeping suites, and they're basically part of a fourplex. And the lower keeping suite has 2 beds, 2 workspaces if you're working remote, and even a little tiny kitchen type setup. So that is one that I stayed in recently that was really, really nice. And there's also family cottages with 3 bedrooms if you have a family, although those book up pretty quickly, so they're not often available. And one last thing to mention about the resort is that if you are looking to buy a property in Belize, you actually can buy in the Hilton itself, just like you can in other hotels here. The Best Western has just came online, and also the Marriott. So those are basically like condo hotels, similar to what they have in other tourist destinations. For example, the MGM in Las Vegas has properties like that, and so do other places. So if you're looking to buy, this is also an option. So I thought I'd include a few pictures of where I stayed at the summit, which is in a lower keeping suite, which you can see is a fairly spacious unit. So then if we go away from the resort onto Street 1, I put a picture here of what it looks like. So it's the first street when you come in past the main entrance, and you can see the sign for the upcoming community pool on the left. And then on the right, you can actually see the Level Up arcade that I talked about. I like to bring people over there. And then if you were to drive through the street at the back, you will find where Island Academy is, which is a private school. And I was actually just talking to one of my Belizean friends here, and she was telling me that Island Academy is 800 Belize a month for students, so that's 400 US. And her kid actually goes to a different school that's a private school called ACES. And that one, as well as one other private school on the island, go for 350 Belize a month. So I thought that's helpful if you're thinking of moving here for you to know. So I already mentioned that some businesses are part of the Hilton Resort. So that includes the bookings site where you can book all your tours, plus the bars and restaurants that are located at the Great House, which is where you would check in. And those businesses, of course, can be charged to your room, and the prices are in US dollars. But there are other businesses that are separate, and therefore they don't take room charges, and they're most often in Belize dollars. So when you go into a place, it's good to just ask what currency the prices are in, and also if they take credit card. Most businesses in Belize do, but some might not, especially if they're new and they just don't have it set up yet. One other tip, if you are going to the bar at the Hilton, which I stopped by quite a bit during happy hour. So happy hour is 5 to 6 p.m., and it's actually 2 for 1 on some of their cocktails. So, and even at a lower price. So my favorite drink there is the rum fizz, which is usually $9 US, but between 5 and 6, you can get 2 for $6 US. So a lot more affordable. So I hope this has helped if you're considering traveling to Mahogany Bay Village. And if you are interested in finding a long-term rental or you want more advice, certainly reach out to me and I'd be happy to help. And I hope to see you soon in Belize.